Have you ever wondered why you have a million choices for one thing, but maybe zero for another? Well, that's not an accident, it's all by design. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden rules that shape your economy, something called market structure. I mean, really think about it for a second. Why can you walk down a single block and see a dozen different coffee shops? But when you get your electricity bill, there's probably only one company you can pay? The answer to that question gets to the heart of an economic concept that quietly runs your life. You see, the answer is all about understanding the market's hidden rules. Kind of like the rules of a game that every single business has to play by. And this rule book is what economists call market structure. To put it simply, market structure just describes how much competition is in an industry. It's all about things like how many companies are selling the stuff. Is the product basically the same everywhere you go? And how easy is it for a new company to just jump in and start competing? Now, when we say market, I don't just mean a physical place like this beautiful farmer's market. Nope. In economics, a market is really any system that lets buyers and sellers connect, whether that's a website, an app on your phone, or a global supply chain. So, the best way to get a handle on all this is to picture a spectrum. On one far end, you've got this theoretical idea called perfect competition. And on the other end, you have the messy, complicated, and way more common reality of imperfect competition. Let's start with the perfect world first. All right, let's dive into this theoretical ideal, which honestly you could almost call a myth. Perfect competition. You're not really going to find it in the real world, but it's a super important yardstick for understanding how everything else works. So, I want you to imagine a market where no single seller, not one, has any power at all. That's the big idea here. There are just so many sellers, and their products are so completely identical that nobody can nudge the price even a little. Think about something like wheat. One farmer's wheat is pretty much exactly the same as their neighbors. For this to actually happen, though, a bunch of really strict conditions have to be met. You need a ton of sellers, and they all have to be selling the exact same product. Then everybody, buyers and sellers alike, has to know everything about the product and its price. And on top of that, companies have to be completely free to jump into or out of the market with zero barriers. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. Take a look at the graph on the left. That's the entire market, right? Supply and demand cross, and boom, we get one single price. Now look at the graph on the right for an individual company. It's just a flat line. That company has absolutely zero power to change the price. It's what we call a price taker. It has to take the price the market gives it. If it tries to charge even a penny more, poof, all its customers are gone. So, again, in the real world, this perfect scenario just doesn't exist. But economists still love this model because it gives us this perfect, super efficient baseline that we can use to measure how the real world stacks up. Okay, so if that's the theoretical dream, what's the reality? Well, that brings us over to the messy side of the spectrum, imperfect competition. This is where pretty much every business you know actually operates. We're going to break down the three big ones: monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. Let's start at the total opposite end of the spectrum, the monopoly. The name literally comes from Greek, monos for one and polon for to sell. One seller, that's it. They're the only game in town selling something unique with no other real options. And this image just nails the key difference. A monopolist isn't a price taker, like in our last example. Oh no, they are a price maker. They've got massive control over what you pay because, well, where else are you gonna go? Think back to that electricity provider we talked about at the beginning. Now, let's get into the middle ground: oligopoly. This comes from the Greek for few sellers. This is any market where just a handful of big companies call the shots. Think about cell phone providers or the big airlines. The key word you have to remember here is interdependent. Everything they do affects each other. If one airline slashes its prices, you can bet the others are going to react instantly. And this interdependence creates this really fascinating game for us, the customers. Are they going to be collusive? You know, team up and act like one big monopoly to keep prices high? Or are they going to be non collusive and compete like crazy, getting into price wars and ad battles to try and steal each other's customers? That constant strategic dance is what defines an oligopoly. And finally, we get to the structure that probably describes most of the things you buy every day: monopolistic competition. Now, this market has lots of sellers, kind of like perfect competition, but, and this is a huge but, their products are differentiated. They're similar, but they're not identical. This image of a tug of war is just perfect. It's exactly what's happening. On one hand, each company has a little mini monopoly on its own specific brand, thanks to things like advertising and brand loyalty. But on the other hand, they're in this intense battle with all the other companies selling similar stuff. I mean, just think about shampoo or toothpaste or coffee shops. There are dozens and dozens of brands, and they all pretty much do the same thing. But you might prefer one because of the way it smells, or its cool packaging, or an ad you saw. That tiny little difference is what companies use to try and get a little bit of price setting power. So we've gone from one end of the spectrum to the other, from a perfect theory to the messy reality. But why does any of this actually matter to you in your day to day life? Okay, let's put it all together. This table really is the whole story in a nutshell. Just watch what happens as you move from left to right, away from perfect competition and toward monopoly. The number of sellers plummets. Their control over the price you pay skyrockets. But look at that bottom line because that's the one that hits home for you, your level of choice. It goes from basically infinite all the way down to zero. That's the takeaway. The structure of a market directly controls your options and what ends up coming out of your wallet. And all of this leaves us with a really big question for right now. In this age of giant tech platforms and global internet companies, what's the trend? Are our markets becoming more competitive, giving us more choices than ever? Or are we actually seeing the rise of new, powerful monopolies on a scale we've never seen before? The hidden rules are always changing. The real question is, who are they changing for? Thank you for watching my video. I am Rahul Banerjee, your MBA sir. If you like this video, kindly give a like and don't forget to subscribe my channel. We'll meet you soon in the next video.